Hey y'all, I'm Byron.
And I'm Margaret.
We'd like to welcome you to our first episode of Beyond I Do podcast.
For our first episode, how it started, we want to give y'all a little bit of background on who we are and why we're here. Before we get into our episode, we want to share this disclaimer. We are not marriage counselors, nor are we mental health professionals. We simply want to share with you what has worked in our marriage. Now, on to our episode.
Alright, picture it. Georgia, 1992. Nah, that's Golden Girls fans will get that. But the year was 1992, and I was getting home from school, and I was with a friend of mine, and we all got dropped off at my house, and I remember him making a phone call. He said, "Hey man, I'm gonna go around here and check out my friend Margaret. She stays around the corner." And, I was like, well, my neighborhood, I know just about every female in the neighborhood, So I need to go investigate who this Margaret young lady is.
Young lady.
So it was like right around the corner from the house, and we walked around there, and it was her and her cousin. They were sitting on the car, and my friend introduced us and spoke to her, and okay, Shawty looking a little fine, she look cute, And then so that was it as far as our initial introduction, which Margaret just doesn't remember. Why don't you remember that?
I don't remember because I had a crush on his friend. I had met his friend. I had met two of his friends previously. And the particular friend he's speaking of, I had a crush on him. So I wasn't paying attention to who his friend was with. I was paying attention to his friend. So I don't remember that first meeting, but that's how he says it happened.
Yep, so fast forward, I don't know, a couple of months later, another friend of mine, he brings her to my house to introduce us, and I'm like, I remember you from somewhere. And then we realized that, we met from the previous friend, so.
And I promise y'all, I don't remember any of this.
She don't remember that either.
I don't remember. I just remember that there was a time in my life that there was no Byron. And then there was a time in my life that there was Byron. And he got there through his friend who I had a crush on. But that's all I remember. I don't remember the
I remember because, I'm the one that's, with crush and everything, you know what I'm saying? Now, and I said that because, she's a little older than me, I was a junior in high school. She had just graduated high school.
We are 1 year apart.
She had started college at the local university, and this fly chick, she had a car, she even had a cell phone, y'all. Everybody ain't had no cell phone in 92. She was big balling, so I just checking her out, you know what I'm saying? She's just the type of woman that I like, you know what I'm saying? So, and then of course over time, like I said, we all had mutual friends, ended up having some of the same friends. So our friend groups kind of rolled in the same places. So I would see her, periodically here and there. We'd always end up hanging out, having a good time.
And I do remember that.
She remembers that, man.
We used to hang out, like you said, our friend groups kind of mixed together. we would end up in the same places, and somehow the two of us would always end up somewhere talking and laughing together.
Yep. And there will be some stories that are going to come out about those times as we, move along and, continue to open up and let you guys know who we are.
So over time, we did get very close. We would hang out together, just the two of us sometimes, but a lot of times it was usually with a group. And somehow within those groups coming together, everyone would be, talking and having a good time, and somehow the two of us would kind of end up together and laughing and talking. I always felt comfortable, and I felt like I could be myself with him. So
Yep. And then, I would, because she was my friend, I would do stuff for her sometimes. She would do stuff for me. I'd call her and be like, hey, I need some help doing this. She'd come over and help me. Or she'd call me and be like, what you doing? I'd go to her house and, help her with whatever she wanted, So, that's just the way our relationship was. But we never seriously said, hey, let's be boyfriend and girlfriend. We just kept it like that. And throughout the years, I remember sitting in my room one day and I was thinking about this young lady, and I was like, hey, I really like her. I really dig this chick right here. Out of all the chicks I know, this right here is the one chick that I can just really dig, you know what I'm saying? So I remember I said, I'm finna go up here to her job. She worked at the mall, our local mall. Go up there to her job, and she's there. I'm gonna confess my love to her. That's what I said. So I got my heart all pounding, I'm ready to just really just drop it down on her, you know what I'm saying? And I guess there she starts talking to me. She's ringing up customers, so I ain't trying to intrude on, work in progress. But so she tells me, she said, guess what? I said, what's going on? She said, I'm getting ready to go to Georgia Southern. And boy, my heart just dropped to the ground. Bam. Now, in retrospect, yeah, the school was like an hour and a half away from our hometown, which really wasn't really no big deal. But my young mind was thinking, she gonna go down there, she gonna meet some college dude. I was still in high school. I ain't gonna be able to compete. So I punked out, y'all. That's what I did. I punked out.
And as a result of that,
yep, and as a result,
apparently I found out later he ended up meeting someone else, and this other person he was in a long-term relationship with, and it ended up to be a very bad relationship. And I found out that it was my fault that this occurred, because when he came to the mall to profess his love for me and I broke his heart, he met her the next day, and he would not have entertained that if he and I had been together. So that was my fault that he was in this 1.5-year relationship that was not a good one. And I take the blame for it, okay? But like he said, in retrospect, I bet that 1.30-minute drive doesn't look so bad.
That would have been a whole lot worth it, I tell you, man. That's a whole nother story. But so at any rate, but even during that time, we still kept in contact with each other, even when I was in that relationship.
I would come home from school, holidays and weekends, and would still reach out. And we would hang out. Unbeknownst to me, he would sneak off. so that we could hang out.
Yeah, I would do that. 'Cause that was my homegirl, you know what I'm saying? That was my homegirl still. So, I risked it all.
That didn't always work in your favor, but it's okay.
So fast forward to 1996. Alright. I'm still in this relationship with the previous young lady. A lot of stuff happened. I lost my father in July of that year. Well, he had went in the hospital in June, passed away June 1st of 96. And that happened. And I was at that point where I was trying to figure out, what I was going to do with life. When I graduated high school, I went off to college, stayed there for a year. And that didn't pan out. I came back home, just working little, jobs here and there. Just trying to figure out life and, dealing with the death of my father. And as she always would, and now another part of that is that previous relationship that I was in, this young lady tells me right before the Christmas holidays that she wants to end things. So, as my baby always had done in the past, she always called me at the right time. So she called me at the right time. We sat there and we had dinner that evening. And
now I remember that because we went to Applebee's.
Yep.
And I lost that $100 bill from Grandma.
Yep, she lost a $100 bill. Was that when you told me you were going?
Yep, that's when I let you know that I was moving back home. And I asked you to help me move.
Yep. And y'all, let me tell you, in my mind, I knew that this was my chance. That I needed to, help her so that then I could help myself later.
Anyway.
Just being real.
And so with that move, that started our official relationship.
Yep. We was hanging out every day.
We were, which my mom years beforehand started referring to him as her son.
Yes, she did.
So I think my mother was extremely happy when we finally were together. In hindsight, as adults looking back, I realized that we kind of moved too quickly. Even though that relationship that he was in, that particular person treated him poorly and did not deserve to have the relationship with him, I still needed to understand that he needed time to grieve that relationship. And so breaking up with her and then he and I getting together, that was not the best move looking back in hindsight, because he didn't have time to fully process all of that, along with losing his dad in July. So that was the first Thanksgiving, the first Christmas without his dad. One of our first official Valentine's Day, we actually took his mom out to dinner and a movie, because that was her first Valentine's Day without his dad. So all of these things, being young and not really putting things into perspective or thinking about things, I realize now we kind of moved ahead of ourselves with some things. Thankfully, we've been able to work through these things, and you'll learn more about that as we go along. But it just wasn't ideal looking back.
Yeah. And so we're hanging out every day. I mean, this is my baby. And, we was going to the mall, what, Waffle House, the evening times, riding around. We used to ride around, look at houses, like ride around in like the expensive neighborhoods in our area, just dreaming, you know what I'm saying? That's what we did, pass our time. And then every now and then, we might take a trip, and we took a trip to Atlanta.
First week in April.
Weekend in April. And unbeknownst to us, we come back. We left 2 and come back
S3.
S3.
But didn't find that out for several months.
Yep. And then, once we found that out, and even before that, I think you and I, we had discussed marriage, and we had discussed, doing it one day, but neither one of us were in the situation financially to like really do anything, so to speak. And so we discussed it, and then when we found out you were pregnant, that kind of brought that discussion on a lot. And it wasn't a situation I never necessarily felt pressure or anything, but it was just one of those situations where we were like, well, we're going to be in this together either way. 'Cause I'm just the type of guy that I know for sure that I have to know where my children are at all times. Now, at this point, both of us had not had kids.
We
But-
We had not had kids.
Not
We
had
were
kids
both.
before.
We were still at home, and with our moms. So that was. I was almost 5 months pregnant when we found out that I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And so it was the shock of everything. We sat in Waffle House, which was, I guess looking back now, I should have known something was up, because every day we were going to either Waffle House or IHOP, and I was ordering the exact same thing.
Same thing, yep.
And we sat in that Waffle House in that same booth, and we laughed and cried.
Yep.
Because all we could think was, what are we going to do? We've got to tell our parents.
Yep.
And so it was a roller coaster from the beginning. I told my mom, and I told my mom it was up to her to tell everybody else. He told his mom, and we did eventually move in together in October.
Yep.
Even at that point, we still had a lot of things that we needed to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
One of which was the ex popped up.
Yeah.
And like I said, we moved too quickly. He didn't have time to kind of process and grieve that. So that was an issue that came up. We did have the discussion as to whether or not to get married or just be co-parents. My mom was a big advocate of us getting married and offered us much more help and support if we were married versus if we were not.
Yeah.
But we didn't want that to be the deciding factor. We wanted to make sure that we were doing what was best for us and for our child. I, for one, knew that he was going to be a phenomenal father whether or not we were married. But I didn't want to lose my friend either. So we had these discussions about what to do. And eventually, I received the dream proposal when we woke up one morning, and he rolled over and said, "We might as well."
All right, let me clear this out. Let me clear this now. Now, she was working at a call center, and I was working at another call center. And so I was, got to know the people pretty well because of the job that I did. So I know that one of the young ladies that I work with had recently got married like that summer. So I asked her, I said, well, what did you guys do? And she told me, we went to such and such, and we went to the courthouse and filed for the license, and then we had our, she basically told me the steps on what would happen. So
now, mind you, I promise y'all, I learned this when we started preparing for this podcast. I had no clue about any conversations with anyone else. All I know is I woke up and rolled over and he said, we might as well do this. It wasn't quite like that, but it was like that.
It's
exactly like that, but okay.
So here we go. We go apply for the license, and we start getting the offers from the wedding chapels, and we set a date for December 13th.
Yep, we were married December 13th, and we had our son December 20th. So we beat him by exactly 1 week.
Yep, 1 week.
And we still together.
Yep, still together.
All in all, I think that one of the most important things that we have focused on throughout is our friendship. The two of us are really, really best friends. We enjoy each other, enjoy each other's company, and both of us believe in like being more important than love in a marriage.
Yes, definitely.
There are plenty of people that I love, but I have no desire to sit with and spend any amount of time with. However, when you are saying I do to someone, you have to make certain that this is a person that you are going to wake up next to every day and not feel contempt for. So I think that one of the biggest things between us has been the fact that we like each other, we enjoy each other's company. We sit together and we talk and laugh. We have a lot of common interest. So we genuinely enjoy each other's company.
So remember, y'all, you don't have to be in love.
Yes, you do.
Well, you got to be in love, but you mainly need to be in like.
You definitely have to be in
like with the other individual, with your mate. Because you can be in love, you can love them and can't stand them.
Yep.
That's so that's one of the things that, and that's something that, we come across recently from the last few years, like, just the importance of liking your life mate. That's very important, and being able to sit in a room with each other and whether if she's doing one thing and I'm doing something else, but we still have a connection where we look up and say, hey, this happened, or to be able to discuss things that are important to you, and that just makes a lot of difference in the world. So I mean, those things like that are important, and I mean, we just wanted to share with the world how we did it, and there's no one way. It's just how we did it.
All right, so there you go. The how it started. Hopefully, you've enjoyed listening to our humble beginnings, and you will join us next time to hear how it's going. But now we have a segment that we'd like to invite you to share with us called Let's Discuss It. And our first topic is something that we had seen posted on social media, and we decided that it was an interesting topic to begin with. Is a relationship a 50-50 arrangement? So we've seen this question posed a couple of times in different groups, and sometimes the responses are a little bit outlandish, but we wanted to get your opinion but also share ours. So is a relationship a 50-50 arrangement? What do you think?
It's definitely, it can be 50-50, but I think more in terms of both putting 100% in. You know, as far as, 50-50, discussed in modern days is people always tend to think about it as in reference to finances, pays half the bills or things like that. But 50-50 can also be, duties. It can also be, responsibilities, chores, things like that. So, those are things that I think that people in a marriage need to come together and discuss, kind of in the beginning, to kind of say, okay, and people have their strong points, some people have their weak points, and you just have to know who's who and meet in the middle. And I think discussing those things will help the relationship a lot better, as far as just, just assuming that everybody, assuming that every woman is supposed to cook dinner every night, or assuming that every man is supposed to take out the trash, assuming that, all these, what do we call them?
Gender roles.
Gender roles should be filled, and, you're going to do it because you're a woman, or you're going to do it because you're a man, and that's just not reality in a sense.
I think that for me, when I see 50-50, I tend to be very literal in my thinking, and so that to me is not realistic. That's a roommate situation. I think that I also see that there's even or equal effort going into it. That makes more sense to me. And I think that's what's most important, is that there's an equal effort. However, whatever number you want to assign to it, 50-50, 100-100, there has to be equal effort. So in our marriage, throughout time, there have been roles that are more set and roles that are more flexible. So I don't take out the garbage. It's not because I refuse to, it's just because that's a part of his routine. And when I say take out the garbage, if the garbage can is full, or if I'm cooking, when I cook, I take that stuff out. But as far as, the night before garbage day and getting all the trash together and rolling it out, I don't tend to do that. But it's not that I won't do it, it's just that's part of his routine. Cooking is one of those things, cooking and grocery shopping. Yeah. Those are things that throughout our relationship have kind of gone back and forth. And it just depends on whatever's going on in our family at the time. However many kids, however many kids we have in the house at the time. And as you get to learn more about us, you'll know that we have a lot of kids, and at one point they were all with us, and that took a lot of effort on both of our parts because of how he works, because of how I work. So we've just learned that when something needs to be done, you do it. If dinner needs to be fixed, whoever's available can fix it or can buy it. If laundry needs to be done, that's one of those things that I actually prefer for me to do it, because I don't like for the clothes to sit in the dryer too long. I like to take them out and at least fold them if I don't put them up so that they don't get all wrinkled. But I'm not going to come home and complain if he's done the laundry. So when something needs to be done, we do it. And that's just, to me, that's what's worked for us. And not paying attention to, what society has put in place or what other people have to say. We have to do what works for us.
Yeah.
So.
And I think the main thing together is, it's all about making adjustments to whatever situation. For many years I've worked shift work, which allowed me to, I work rotating shifts, so I would be home a lot during the week, or I would work night shift during the week. So when I was on night shift during the week, a lot of times I would cook. Margaret teaches school, so she gets home at a certain time, and which is in the past would be when the kids would be either getting off the bus, or a lot of times they would get home before her. So I would either begin cooking, or I would just cook all together, or I would pick up something, or we'd decide if we were going to order something, depending on what was going on, whether if there were after school activities or practices. We just made adjustments accordingly. And I think that's the main thing that people have to do. Of course, as the kids get older, they become less dependent upon you. You can kind of, you might be able to divvy some of that to a child or whatever, or however you see fit. And, anything as far as like the laundry or the dishes or what have you. So it's not a good idea to just get stuck in one mindset. And that's the one thing that I appreciate about this woman here, because she surprised me. She told me a long time ago, she said, "I'd never cut in the grass. I ain't cutting no grass." So and it was like a couple of years back. I'm sitting up there and I'm getting frustrated. I had to work a lot off days. So she was like, I'm complaining about needing to cut the grass. So lo and behold, what this woman do, she go out there and starts a lawnmower. She asked, how you start this thing? And I was like, you gonna do it for real? She said, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And so she did it, and that was a pivotal moment.
I know that there are some wondering, no, I have not done it since then. But what I will do is I will find someone who can do it, and I will pay someone to do it. But that's what works for us, the flexibility, the making sure that we're both putting in equal effort. And sometimes that equal effort comes at different times, but the important part is that we realize that we're doing things to try and help the other and make things easier for the other.
And I can tell y'all on this note, something that will help out tremendously is y'all go ahead and put some money to the side to have somebody come clean your house periodically. That just makes the world of difference. It just makes the world of difference.
Well, if cleaning is not your thing,
well,
there are some people who enjoy cleaning. I don't understand it.
I don't either.
But there are some people who enjoy cleaning. That's one thing that, and you're about to start a whole nother.
We'll save that for.
We'll save that one. That's coming in episode 3. But for now, we want to thank you for joining us for our first episode of Beyond I Do podcast.
Please join us next time for episode 2, How It's Going, where we will update y'all on our current situation.
And in the meantime, please make sure and follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and comment to let us know your opinion on 50-50 relationships, and also let us know what you think about the show.
All right, until next time, we'll holler at y'all.